So let's talk about Ballasting Lego Train Track. Ballasting Lego Train Tracks has many perks. More detail, more structure and stability, and ease of integrating your railroad system with your road system. In this video, I'm going to show you how to ballast a straight track, a curved track, and a switch track for your Lego road system. Hey friends, welcome back. If you're new here, my name is John, and I've been deep into Lego ever since I can remember. I've built a ton of Lego sets, done a ton of my own creations, and over the years, I've built a lot of Lego cities, and I figured out a way to standardize how I build my foundation. So in this video, I'm gonna show you how to ballast railroad tracks to add more detail to your Lego city. Stick around until the end because I have a calculator that makes figuring out parts super easy. Quick note, I'll have a graphic at the end to show all the parts I'm using for all three of these builds, or you can check out the Mills calculator in the description below. And because we're covering 3 different builds in this one video, I'm gonna try to move quickly and thoroughly so you get the most value out of it. Let's get started. So when I'm ballasting any of my train tracks or railroad tracks, whatever you want to call them, I like to build mine on top of a regular base plate. You can choose to build this on top of a Mills plate to add more stability and structure to it, but I like doing this because it matches up with my road system really well. So for ballasting a straight track, we'll start with a base, and it should look something like this when you're done with it. You can pause this and take a screenshot so you can build the same thing, and I'll walk through everything I've done here. On the outside here, I have dark bluish gray plates covering the inside layer. And on the inside layer, I have 1x2 plates on either side to help hold down the prep track, and 2x2 plates in the middle here to help add some more stability to it as well. These tiles are placed down here strategically so we can add support to the prep track that we're going to be placing down here soon. One important thing to note is that once you place down your track, it's going to be 4 studs away from the edge. This is important because if you plan on doing double tracks or switches or curves later in your railroad system, this will allow it to match up perfectly. Once the base layer is complete, we'll move on to prepping the tracks. To prep your tracks, you're going to grab 2 railroad tracks, go ahead and connect them together and flip it upside down. And then you're going to grab some 2x plate to place along the middle and both sides of the train track. Once you're done with that, it should look something like this, and you can go ahead and flip it over. To finish this off, you're going to place 2x4 dark bluish gray plates in between each gap here to cover up the plates you place down in the middle, and 1x2 plates to cover these gaps. When you're done, it should look something like this. I'm going to go ahead and tile mine off with 1x1 and 1x4 reddish brown tile. And once it's all tiled off, I'm going to go ahead and place it down, making sure the plates underneath the tracks are locking in with the 2x2 plates in the middle here and the 1x2 plates on either side. Once you're done with this, you've finished a basic ballasted straight track. You can choose to add more detail now, like some extra studs or use different colors, add some plants and greenery around here, whatever you choose. Just make it your own. Now let's move on to the curved track. So for ballasting your curved track and for ease of time, this is what your base is going to look like. I'm using a 48x48 base plate here, but you can choose to use a 32x32 base plate as well, as long as you have 2 half base plates to put on either side to finish the curve. You'll notice here on the outside of this curve, I have dark bluish gray tile, and on the inside, it doesn't matter what color tile or plates you're using, because those won't be seen at all. I also have these 1x2 jumper plates and 1x2 tiles to help secure the prepped curve when you're placing it down. I also have 1x2 plates on the outside to help secure the edges down as well. Feel free to pause or take a picture of this if you need. You'll notice that I also have 1x2 tan tiles on the inside curve, and that's for extra support for the prep plate, because there's a few pieces that are kind of finicky when you're placing down the prep track. Once you have your base complete, we'll move on to prepping the track. For prepping your curved track, you're going to end up creating a structure like this or like this. Depending on how you're laying your tiles down or the sequence of tiles you're laying down, the 1x4 tile that you're putting in the middle should cover up the slide piece. For my railroad system, I'm going to be building them like this. You're going to end up creating 4 of these for each of the 4 curves that you have, so 16 in total. They should slide in perfectly on your track like this. The 2x4 plate that is connected to the 1x2 slide should snap right onto the plate here. And the little gap you have between the 1x2 plate and the 2x2 corner plate should match up perfectly with the railroad track. Once you have those in place, you're going to fill up the outside open areas right here with 2x2 plates. On the inside curve, you're going to do something similar, but you're going to use 1x2 slide plates as well. And you're going to end up alternating the pattern so it looks something like this. Once you're done with this, you'll notice there's little gaps on the inner curve right here. You'll use your 1x1 plates to place right here. Once you're done with that, it'll look something like this. You'll end up creating 4 of these and connect them all together. I have one completed here and all tiled off. And once you have that ready, you can go ahead and place it down on the base. When placing it down, I like to snap in one side first, making sure that's secure and making sure the other end is secure as well. Once both ends are secure, you can look for those 1x2 jumper plates and push the plate on top of them down so it secures them in place. It should look something like this when you're all done with it. Again, you can choose to use any colored tiles or plates that you'd like to add a variety or different details to your ballasted curve track. You can also choose to add plants, studs, or whatever it is to make it your own. It's important to note here too that even though it's a curved track, it sits 4 studs away from either edge, so you can connect it easily to other curves, straights, or switch tracks, whatever it may be. Now let's move on to switch tracks. So for the ballasted switch track, it's probably the most complicated one. We'll start with the base layer again, and this is what it'll look like when it's complete. Feel free to pause or take a screenshot of this if you need to. These 2 pieces over here are actually dark bluish gray bricks. Everything else is either tiles or plates, and these here are jumpers. Once you're done with the base layer, there's another layer you need to add on, and it should look something like this. You're gonna be using a 2x10 dark bluish gray plate here, or whatever you have in dark bluish gray to cover this area up, with some 1x plates along this edge, 1x tile in here. The red ones can be any color you'd like. You're gonna add some angled plates on top of the jumpers, surrounded by some tiles as well. Some jumpers over here, stud on top, and a 1x1 tile here. You're also gonna have a corner plate here and a 1x1 stud here. I told you it was a little complicated. Just feel free to take a picture or pause whatever you need to do to get this structure down. Once your base is good, then we'll move on to prepping your switch track. For my switch track, I already have a completed one, and I went ahead and added an additional straight to it as well as an additional curve to it so I can add it into my city. I have this one already completed because there's only a few variations you need to know about in order to make this happen. In your ballasted switch track, you're gonna have similar support structures you built for your curve track, but there are gonna be 2 different ones that you're gonna be building for this as well. One of them looks like this with a 2x2 plate, a 1x1 plate on top of that, connected to a 1x2 plate here, a 2x2 circular plate, and a 2x2 corner plate. This is held together by this 1x4 reddish ground plate. You only need one of these, and it's gonna go right here. The next structure you'll be building is one of these right here. Very similar to what we did for the curves, but instead of 2 2x4s, you're gonna be using a 3x3 curved plate as well. You're gonna end up needing 3 of these. It's gonna line up next to the one we just talked about. Another thing I'd like to point out is there are angled plates here and towards the corner and the inside curve here to add support to your track. Again, this one's pretty complicated, so feel free to pause this or take a screenshot if you need. Once you're all good here, we can go ahead and flip it over and place it along our base. What I like to do here is snap along the straight side first to make sure that's in place, and then I'll work the curve in. You may need to push it a little bit because it doesn't love to sit perfectly. Once it's in, it should look something like this. Again, your track is gonna be 4 studs away from the edge, and because of this gap here, it'll line up perfectly with any double tracks you have going on as well. Remember, I'm only doing the bare minimum here, so you can choose to use any color tiles you'd like, add extra studs, extra tiles to add some detail to your switch track. And that's it. Now we know how to ballast a straight track, a curved track, and a switch track. Remember, you can use any colored tiles or plates when you're ballasting your train tracks. This is your city and you can build it however you want to. Now I'm gonna share this graphic with all the parts on it. Feel free to pause the screen and take a screenshot so you know exactly what pieces I used for this. Now let me share my mills calculator with you. My mills calculator helps me figure out exactly what pieces and how many pieces I need for when I'm building straight tracks, curved tracks, or switch tracks, or any road in my Lego city as well. The link to the calculator will be in the description below, but feel free to copy this or download it and customize it to fit your layout. This makes planning and ballasting your train system a whole lot easier. If you've watched this far and found value in this video, please leave a thumbs up and subscribe for more Lego content. If you have any questions or tips of your own, please leave it in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. And until next time, stay creative and keep building. I like to start. So when ballasting it, so for ballasting, but that's it, that's how, but that's it. And that's it, that's how you, and that's it, that's how you ballast. And that's it, And that's it. That's how you ballast your